If you're on the fence about grabbing one of the Tower 200 cases from us, or you've already got one and you just don't know where to begin building, hopefully this build guide will clear up all your concerns for you. This is how to build in the Tower 200. Let's dive straight into it. Today we're building in the snow version of the Tower 200. Your first step will be to completely strip the case of all its panels, as having multiple access points makes building in this smaller size case a lot easier. So the entire top of the Tower 200 can just be pulled straight off. Don't be afraid to give it a bit of a tug, as it does protest a little bit. The front panel simply needs a gentle push in the center of the top and it'll come out easily. The two side panels are also easy to remove just by pulling them gently from the now exposed sections at the top. Finally, to remove the lower panels, flip the case onto its back and use either a screwdriver or, if you're strong, just your fingers to remove the thumb screws. They can then be lifted out too. Now that your case is entirely stripped, the building can begin. Ready your motherboard like usual, inserting your CPU, RAM, and if you're running with one, any M.2 storage drives. We will take a moment now to mention that, strictly speaking, we do recommend using mini-itx motherboards in the Tower 200. It can technically fit an m.ATX board if you want, but you will lose out on some airflow benefits and cable routing options, so we don't necessarily recommend it, but of course the choice is up to you. I also want to mention, if you're running with a 3.5-inch HDD or 2.5-inch SSD, this is where you're going to want to install it. Simply place it on this side of the bracket, flip it over and screw it in through the corresponding holes. If you're using an air cooler, you should definitely install it before putting your motherboard into the case. But if not, like we are today, you can simply lift your motherboard into the Tower 200. You'll notice that due to the rotational design of this case, you will be inserting the board with the I/O facing to the top instead of towards the back like in a standard case. This will allow you to mount your GPU vertically. Screw in your motherboard to secure it in place. Now let's install this AIO. The Tower 200 can actually support up to a 280mm AIO, but today we're just going to go with a 240mm one. First, remove the AIO bracket located on the right side of the case. You can do this by simply removing the two screws at the top. Then you can simply mount your AIO onto it. We recommend using an intake configuration for your fans, which may mean you have to flip your fans around. We don't have to today though, because we're using our awesome Swafan EX ARGB fans, so I simply switch the blades around so you can still see all that gorgeous RGB. Install the radiator onto the bracket using the screws through the back. The easiest way I've found to do this is to hang the water block and tubing off the edge of a table, for example, to give you the best access to the holes. Then you simply place the AIO mount back into the case and screw it back in to secure it. Now lay the case on its back and apply some thermal paste to your CPU if you need to before securing the water block down in place. Next up, let's do some cable management. In the Tower 200, I definitely recommend cable managing as you go, as once the graphics card's in, it gets quite difficult to maneuver in the tighter space. I'm going to start by managing the AIO's cables. Plug in your cooler to its respective port. Now this will differ depending on your board and your cooler, but if you're like us and are running with a Thermaltake TH AIO cooler, you can simply place it into the AIO pump header like we do. Next, let's hook up these ARGB fans from the all-in-one cooler. Each ARGB fan comes with two cables, one for power and one for your RGB. You want to daisy chain these on one another before inserting the final cable into your motherboard. Now the best trick I have found for ARGB cables is to actually start from the motherboard and work your way back. Plan which fan will daisy chain off the other, so make sure that they're all included into the chain. The same goes for the ARGB header as well. Find your 5V header on the motherboard, plug it in and work backwards, ensuring every fan you have will be included somewhere in the chain. Now let's tackle the front I/O connectors. All of ours are located at the bottom. If your board has them, plug in things like your USB 3.0 cable, USB-C cable, and last but not least, the front I/O panel cables. My best tip I have for installing these are to look for the markings on your motherboard, which will actually tell you which order they go in. You can also find this out by checking with your motherboard manual if you still have it. And honestly, just be patient with it. This is not a task to do on an empty stomach or if you're in a rush, that's for sure. Alright, we're nearly there. Another thing worth mentioning now is the optional LCD panel that comes with the Tower 200. If you have one of these, installing it is super easy. Just remove the panel from its packaging and insert the cable. Flip your Tower 200 on its back, and after removing the front panel, you can now insert the new LCD panel in its place using the same thumb screw to secure it down. Connecting it up is super easy too. The other end of the cable just goes into a standard USB header. Now that everything small and finicky is hooked up, let's put in the power supply. To install it, simply unscrew the PSU bracket and slide in the PSU cables first. You can actually thread the cables out the side at this stage too if you want to, because the left side of the Tower 200 should be still entirely open. See, I told you removing those panels would be helpful. Screw your PSU bracket in and the PSU itself in place, and it'll be nice and secure. Now let's hook up your PSU cables. Beginning with your CPU cable, this needs to run all the way up the left side of the case. To ensure it will make it, you can also run your cable along the top of the PSU so it actually has less length to travel. Once that's plugged in, tug it to the side to keep it out of the way. Next, let's install the 24-pin motherboard connector. This should be located towards the bottom. Again, if you need, feed the cable above the PSU, feed it through the grommet, and then insert it in so it's nice and snug. Lastly, hook up any other additional peripheral cables that you might have. Now it's time for the graphics card. I always put this off until last, as it'll basically mean very little space remains for any last minute cable managing. Remove all the PCIe brackets you need for your respective card, push back the clip on your PCIe lane if you need, and simply push your graphics card into place. Once it's nice and secure, screw in the GPU to keep it there and plug your PSU cables in to power it up. Just a few little things left now to go, and then you'll be all done. Do any final major cable managing now out the back. You can use twist ties, zip ties, or even Velcro ties. But here I actually only made use of the inbuilt cable hooks and they worked like a charm. The very last thing you'll need to hook up is the fan on the back panel. Now if you're running drives and still have the drive cage in, you will need to slide this fan down as it will hit the cage. But if you aren't like me, simply hook up your back fan to one of the remaining slots available in your daisy chained fan loop, and it's good to go. If you don't have a cable free in your loop, you might need to do some quick readjusting. Now we recommend doing a test before putting your panels back on, but for the sake of the video, we're just going to pop the panels back on first to show you how it's done. Start at the bottom, so begin by laying the case back down and putting back on any of the bottom panels that you have, screwing them back in via the thumb screws. Then insert your side panels by simply popping them back into place. Now you can stand your PC back up and pop back on the front glass panel too. If you're having issues popping the panel back in, it's possible that one of the grippers have come loose, so check those. The Tower 200 actually comes with spares if you need to replace one. Once all your side panels are on, line the holes up and push the top back down too. Congratulations, you have now officially built in the Tower 200. I'm sure your build, whether you built along with me or you're planning to in the future, will look incredible. If you have any questions about the Tower 200, or if there's another Thermaltake case that you'd like us to teach you how to build it for next time, tell us in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.